Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our UIA Heritage and Cultural Identity Work Program, which is an event hosted to sort of commemorate the 50 years since the adoption of the World Heritage Convention. And before I move on, I want to give a chance to my co-director to say a few words as we move on with the program. Mohammed.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No. Hello. Moti, can you hear me? Oh. Oh, right.
Kasim, you may want to move on because we have lost Mohammed.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for those challenges. This conference, as I said, is celebrating the milestone that the World Heritage Convention attained last year. And before I move on, I would wish to acknowledge everyone available in this webinar. First of all is our Secretary General of UIA, all our moderators led by Professor George Abungu, our speakers, Matthias Rip, Geoff Rich, my fellow co-directors, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. So the 2022 World Heritage Convention celebrated a major milestone that was the 50th anniversary. And by last year, there were a total of 1,154 natural and cultural heritage sites on the World Heritage list. And for this purpose, UNESCO World Heritage Center organized a campaign to celebrate this in the form of campaigns related towards celebratory events such as discussion forums, conferences, and workshops. So around the theme, Next 50 World Heritage as a source of resilience, humanity, and innovation. So in this context, UIA, through the Heritage and Cultural Identity Work Program, is pleased to organize this World Heritage Convention at 50th Anniversary Online Conference, which runs from today to 22nd February 2023 as a tribute to this adoption. This event is in line with the UIA HCI work programs objectives, which are to engage in questions of urban and sustainable development, rehabilitation, renovation, conservation, and heritage management of existing sites, while striving to establish high international standards for good practice. Also, our objective is to standardize and promote methods of the management of cultural heritage for architecture and heritage sites. Also, we look towards working to protect existing and future heritage and cultural sites from human, natural, and climate change-induced disasters, while we also seek to collaborate with international bodies to ensure wider dissemination and adoption of international best practices in heritage and culture. This international event will be wholly online for the next 3 days and free of charge. The aim of this conference is to draw attention to our cultural and natural heritage, as well as their crucial role in planning the resilient future of our planet against the crises and challenges that are awaiting. And for these purposes, the experiences gained through the past 50 years of the convention and its impact on heritage sites will be presented by experts from different regions worldwide. The conference aims to dedicate its outcomes in relation with the objectives of the whole celebratory events, which was to look at issues of innovation in ways that can be able to safeguard and conserve heritage sites in the next 50 years, looking at issues of resilience for heritage sites and communities living in the face of climate change, looking at models of sustainable tourism, reconciliation of conservation and urban rural development, contribution as well as threats of new technologies to the protection and promotion of heritage, and also looking at the lessons learned during the COVID-19 pandemic to the future conservation efforts. While lastly, one of the relevant topics was the role of cultural and natural heritage to meet increasing environmental and social challenges of our times. So, ladies and gentlemen, over the 3 days, you'll hear experiences from all over the world, UIA 5 regions. You'll hear issues to do with resilience, lessons learned, and sustainability models, approaches towards model tourism in heritage sites, issues to do with management of World Heritage Site as a role, planning and development of World Heritage Sites, and lastly, challenges of modern architecture as it relates to World Heritage Sites. Lastly, I would wish to highlight a small change in the program for today. The international section that was supposed to be preceded by 2 presentations from UNESCO and ICROM has been sort of shortened because of issues and circumstances that beyond our control. And as a result, you'll be able to get the presentations in the form of papers online after the conclusion of this conference. I would wish to welcome the Secretary General to give her welcoming remarks as we move with today's program. Thank you.
Hello, honorable guests, fellow colleagues and friends. My warmest greeting from the International Union of Architects. I'm Tan Pei Ing, the Secretary General, and it is my great honor to be given this opportunity to address all of you. Last year, the World Heritage Convention celebrated its 50th anniversary after its adoption in 1972. And the UNESCO World Heritage Center launched and supported a year-long program of celebratory events, discussion forums, conferences, and campaigns to draw attention to the significance and future of our common natural and cultural heritage under the theme, The Next 50, World Heritage as a Source of Resilience, Humanity, and Innovation. On behalf of the UIA, I would like to thank and congratulate the organizing committee members of the UIA Heritage, Cultural, and Identity Work Program, led by the co-director, Muhammad Habib Reza and Qasim Omar, in organizing this virtual convention as a tribute to the adoptions of the World Heritage Convention. This event is in line with the UIA Work Program's objectives. The Heritage World Convention is also part of the series of initiatives planned by the Heritage and Cultural Identity Work Program to stimulate discussions on the important roles played by our heritage and culture in contributing to the UN 17 SDGs, leading to the UIA next key milestone, that's the UIA Copenhagen World Congress that will be held in July 2023 with the theme Sustainable Futures, Leaving No One Behind. It also aims to highlight the significance of their crucial roles in planning the resilient future of our planet against the crises and challenges that are awaiting, and to promote better understanding so as to develop the necessary skills to combat climate change and the climate-induced disasters. We are heading towards a more globalized and urbanized environment. The rapid and ill-controlled globalizations and urbanizations have caused a great loss of our culture and heritage. They have huge environmental and social impact. There's increasing evidence that show that properly planned urban environment that's inclusive and with strong connection to our culture and heritage will deliver multiple benefits to the health and well-being of the people. Our cultural heritage must therefore be leveraged and preserved to fully achieve the SDGs for the benefit of all. They enhance environmental quality, holistically support physical, mental, emotional, social, cultural, spiritual, and economic needs that enable the full realization of the human potential fundamental to community well-being and resilience. Cultural heritage also helps us to remember our cultural diversity, identities, and its understanding develops mutual respect and renewed dialogues amongst different cultures. The recent devastating earthquakes that struck Turkey and Syria that caused not only loss of many lives, but also massive destructions of our culture and heritage are still fresh in our minds. And it's only through international deliberations, collaborations, and sharing that we can come out with unified approaches towards surviving, recovering from such disasters and mitigating the impacts of future disasters. This convention, with the assembly of presenters who are experts in the topic from the 5 regions, will serve as a great platform to stimulate discussions, and would therefore encourage all of you to actively participate in the exchange of ideas with our esteemed speakers and presenters. With your involvement, we will be able to maximize the benefits of this forum and collaboratively chart a sustainable and resilient course for our planet's cultural and natural heritage for the next half century. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary General. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Professor George Abungu. Professor George Abungu is an archaeologist and emeritus Director General of the National Museums of Kenya. He's the founding chairman of the Africa 2009. He's co-chair the International Standing Committee on the Traffic in Illicit Antiquities and founding chairman of CHEDA, the Center for Heritage Development in Africa. He has been an advisor to the Aluka project of the Mellon Foundation, USA, the Global Heritage Fund, USA, vice president of the International Council of Museums, and a member of the International Jury of the UNESCO Melina Mekori International Prize for Safeguard and Management of Cultural Landscapes. And is also a member of the International Experts of the Humboldt Forum, Berlin, Germany. He has sat on the World Monuments Watch panel of the World Monuments Fund and was Kenya's representative to the UNESCO World Heritage Committee and vice president of its bureau from 2004 to 2008. He is a fellow of the Stellenbosch Institute of Advanced Studies, University of Stellenbosch, South Africa, and was Elizabeth Eddy Professor of Applied Anthropology, University of Florida, Gainesville, USA. He's the founding professor of the Heritage Studies at the University of Mauritius and currently
just about to start sharing.
Sorry. He is the founding professor of heritage studies at the University of Mauritius and currently serves as a special advisor to the Director General ICROM. He is honorary professor of heritage studies at the Center for Heritage and Museum Studies in the Australian National University, Canberra, Australia. Welcome, Professor George Abungu.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kasim. Secretary General, all protocol observed. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank you for that introduction, and sorry for the interruptions. Secondly, I would like to say that I was supposed to moderate this particular session, but it seems as if the panelists who are supposed to be here from UNESCO and from ICROM are not being able to be here due to unavoidable circumstances. These are my colleagues, our colleagues. So if they say that they are not able to be there, I know there must be good reasons for that, but we will be in touch with them. And I know that as promised, they will provide their contributions, which then will go into the final deliberations that will be, I believe, that will be published. I have introduced, I'm not going to go so much into details. I think it is my responsibility as moderator to also raise a few things so that when we get this input from the colleagues, that it will be within those particular contexts. Let me start by introducing those who are not even there. Lazare Elundu, as probably most of you know, is from Cameroon, lives in Paris, and is the director of the World Heritage Center. Lazare, I've known him for many, many years, and I believe many of you have known him since he was in Grenoble. He was one of the alumni of the African World Heritage Fund, not Africa 2009, which was a project that was started under the global strategy, and is an architect. He has been involved in many, many areas, including in the work that he did in Timbuktu, in Mali, after that particular site was demolished through terrorism. He has also been deputy director of the World Heritage Center, as well as director of culture and emergencies at UNESCO. Currently, he is the director of the World Heritage, which is a critical job for this convention. As we celebrate the 1972 convention, 50 years, he is the man in the middle of all that. we know that there have been a lot of challenges too, so it's not just celebration. And I'm very grateful that the UAE has decided to come up with very critical areas to look at, which are mainly resilience, humanity, and innovation of this particular, arising from this particular convention, which is definitely important. The second person is Weber Ndoro, a colleague of ours, an archaeologist. We trained together in Cambridge with Ndoro, and we've been doing many things together. So I know him as a man who has been in the forefront of world conservation, trained in York and also University of Zimbabwe, and is a visiting professor at the University of Cape Town, but more so he's the Director General of ICROM, a body that we know is absolutely critical in conservation. I so happen to have been privileged to be one of his special advisors with other colleagues, and we know that he is committed to this particular cause of heritage conservation, both architectural and others. Now, to just sum up what I think that they could have also pointed out in terms of the celebration of the 1970 convention, since this convention is probably the only convention that brings nature and culture together. It is absolutely important because it touches in our lives. And I want to say a few things, particularly related to the overview of the global performance of this convention for the last 50 years, very quickly, so that we can then move to the next session since they are not here. But I want to say that this convention is one of the most important, probably the most important convention of UNESCO. It has faced both opportunities as well as challenges. And we have seen what the convention has done, and a few of them that I can list includes what I have already mentioned, the global strategy, that we realized that when this convention came into force, there are a number of countries, many countries, about 160 countries have been able to list their sites as places of outstanding universal value. In the process also, we have realized challenges. And one of the challenges has been what we call the imbalance in the number of sites that have been listed. The North compared to the South, or some things like that. This has been, the convention was never quiet. It actually put in place what was then called the global strategy. And the global strategy has tried to address, among others, the issue of representation within the list. And I hope that this is something that will also come on and on again as we look at the overview, that there has been more or less an over-representation on one part of the world as opposed to under-representation. And that global strategy has tried to address that, but has not very much succeeded. The global strategy also, through it, has also addressed the issues of capacity building in different regions, particularly in Africa and Asia. And one of the results that we see was the African World Heritage Fund, which came out of this global strategy. And I believe that that will be looked at by Swaibu and the others. So I'm just looking at some of these performances that they have done. So that has been critical. The African 2001 project that I mentioned is critical. There has also been the setting up of centers. So you have the Asian centers, which is in Shanghai, in China. You have different other centers in Africa and in Europe and other places. I think that the convention has made that to be realized. So the different centers, category 2, one or two centers that have been created. The other thing that I want to mention in this particular overview as moderator would be in terms of the relationship between nature and culture. And we have seen this through time, that the convention has tried as much as possible to bring the two that the convention covers as close as possible. And we know that ICROM has a very robust program that looks at nature and culture. And fourthly, has been the issue of in bringing in other methodologies within the ways in which we manage. For example, traditional knowledge systems, starting with the NARA declaration, where we realize that both tangible and intangible are very close, the built and the unbuilt. All that has been realized through this particular convention over the years. I think we have also seen the incorporation of art and architecture for the architects into this particular convention, looking at that very critically. So I think this has been something that has been seen over the years. So as we look at the overview over 50 years, I believe that some of these issues could have been touched on. The traditional knowledge systems of management has been critical. And I think that we can say that both Asia, South America, and Africa have been major contributors in making sure that this was accepted as part of managing World Heritage. Then we have had a lot of challenges too. I think the most recent was the idea that there has been much more a bit of politicization of the convention or the committee meetings. And I think we should not run away from these discussions. I think these are things that we need to discuss as we move on. What role are the professional and professional bodies playing? Are they playing their role, or are they seeing that there is much more engagement from other quarters that may probably be providing more supervisory rather than advisory roles? And this has led also to the not agitation, but to call for other members and other bodies to take place. We have seen the coming out of our World Heritage as a body that has been engaged in trying to help with addressing some of these issues, particularly in terms of the role of civil societies. What role should civil societies play? We have seen that the convention has been very good in terms of incorporating the community, but has the community played its proper role? So these are questions that over the last 50 years, as we look at the overview of the convention, maybe are things that we may be able to cover and look. And I believe that my colleagues would have probably touched on some of those particular areas that I have just mentioned in this particular session. But I think that those are areas that would be interesting to look at, how much the convention has been able to address those. And lastly, I think is the question of heritage and sustainability, that there has been call that heritage needs to play much more important role in the lives of communities, and more communities have been asking questions, what is there for us? And I think those have been both opportunities as well as challenges, where World Heritage is being questioned whether it is playing proper role in empowering communities to be sustainable in one way or another, whether in terms of tourism potentials or in terms of any other ways. So I think I will leave it there and pass on back the baton to the organizers. But to thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I believe that we could have had even more discussion on these particular issues if the two are here. But we do understand and we do accept that they will provide their contributions, which I believe equally will be important and will be informative as well as beneficial for the deliberations that will take place. So thank you very much, and I rest my case. Thank you.